Hello, everyone. I just wanted to get on here and kind of try to encourage you all, those of you who are still watching for the rapture or um, getting weary and tired and don't know where we are in the situation and still trying to seek Jesus, trying to figure out where we are. I asked if Jesus wanted me to post a video, of some kind of encouragement, and he said, yeah. And honestly, I kind of put it off for a day because I was like, well, I really don't have a clue what to say or where we are in this right now. I know we're going home soon. That's a given. I think that most of us are on board that this is going to happen before June 11th. As Joshua, most of us are on board with believing in his prophecy in this group, I would say. And many of us, I think, now have come to the realization that May 14th is the actual deadline with his new message on the Sent Twins. So right now, I feel like we are in a high watch as well. There was a sister who spoke about the 10th and 11th being a high watch, as it being the 23rd and 24th of Nisan. So, it could happen right now. There was somebody that said that the 3 days of darkness would start on a Friday, and so I was kind of like, considering today's Friday and it's already 5 o'clock here. So I don't know if this is I don't know why, but it's kind of stuck in my head this Friday starting the 3 days of darkness. So, which kind of goes along with the resurrection. Good Friday, Jesus died and then, rose on Sunday. So it kind of goes with that. So I kind of just stuck with that in my mind. I haven't really received any confirmation on that. I probably should pray about that. And maybe you guys could, if we can at least get a day, that'll help us narrow it down a little bit. Basically, also we have, May 4th or April, I guess April 14th coming up. There was a child that I saw online that said, she said 3 days ago that Jesus was coming in a week, or he'll be here in a week. And I think that countdown landed on April 13th. So anyways, just take that to the Lord. I'm not really here to set dates or anything at this point, unless God wants to give us another date to look at. But I think many of these are high watches. I think God just wants us to stay close to him, stay watching, continue to, right now he's telling people to rest. I think that it's super important because through all these watches, everybody's been at the edge of their seat over and over, at least 10, 15, 20 times now with these high watches since September. And, trying to get everything ready before each watch. I don't know about you guys, but I've tried to keep my house in order, and I've tried to get my finances squared away, and just anything you would do to try to prepare. And so those of you who are trying to do the same thing and are just tired and weary, I recommend that you rest and just take a break. I know that some of us, it's hard to take a break when, you feel like there's just so many things you have to do before that day or whatever, in case maybe somebody in your family isn't a believer. That's been my situation where my husband is not a believer. I'm hoping that the 3 days of darkness will happen, prior to the rapture, so that maybe he might change his mind, or I pray that he has a dream or a vision, or some people have to have, signs and wonders, and some people have to have calamity before they're going to believe or change. And so everybody's different, but God has a plan. And same thing happened. I don't know why we have to go through this over and over. It really does feel like the Exodus, because every day they received the manna just for that day. And I really have been feeling like that because my finances, me not working, were constantly, counting pennies basically. And and then every month it's like we're short, and somehow he comes through, and he comes through the very last second, you know what I mean? And it feels like, and I'm very grateful, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying it can feel stressful because we're constantly, and I know that God's trying to teach us faith and trust and stuff like that. And I'm sure some of you guys are going through the same thing because God just is trying to show. And it was the same thing in the wilderness for the Israelites. They just, every day, he wasn't going to give them more than their portion. And, I feel like the same thing is happening to me right now. And I'm fully dependent upon him. But he is showing me that I can trust him. But for some reason, it's just, I don't know why. It's like every month it's the same thing I go through. I do good some days, and other days I'm like, can you please just, like, I can't handle it, you know what I mean? And because it's just that constant not knowing, what's next, or if I'm gonna get the money, or if I'm gonna but somehow he literally gives me exactly what I need, not much more, and but at the same time it's like I'm just so grateful that he's taking care of everything. And it's just, but because of that constant stress or whatever, I mean, I'm really doing it to myself, because he should prove to me for an entire year now that he's going to provide. Every month we've been short $200 to $400, and somehow it shows up. I have put in a lot of work and a lot of effort too on my end, but I'm saying, it was always I don't know if we're going to get it in time. But anyways, so I'm sure some of you are feeling that, and some of you aren't. And then there's the pressure of, am I doing good in God's eyes, or am I doing what I'm supposed to? And then also trying to not sin or stay clear from sin has been also a daily battle, because we're trying to stay righteous. And, and so it's gotten to the point where I'm sure many of you guys are isolating yourselves too, because it's like, I can't even call people on the phone without somehow gossip enters in, or, I don't know if any of you guys are battling that, but it's like, I don't really necessarily feel like I'm the one who starts the gossip, but even when you are doing better, or at a certain area in your life, somebody else might not be, and so then you have to figure out, well, okay, well, how can I end this conversation? So it's like, I can't even go hang out with friends, or even if you're going through a really tough time with somebody, maybe it's your spouse, who knows, but you can't go really talk to anybody, because then again, you're gossiping. And so it becomes, and I think that Jesus wants it this way right now, because he just wants us to, I mean, some people can say isolation can bring you to the devil, but it can also bring you to the Lord. And so, but I'm sure many of you guys feel the same way, where it's like, when you're around other people, it seems like sin creeps in. And so it's like you almost have to love people from a distance, or just do a hi bye type of thing, and just kind of keep conversations short, because you don't want other people's doubts and unbelief, or them making you feel, like, or cause you to have unbelief, when you're believing in something or whatever, or believing in this rapture, for example. Because right now, I think faith is super important, and if you're not around other people who have faith, then it can be very discouraging. And so I think right now many of us are relying on our online people that we are subscribed to, that we believe are true prophets, and or people who are showing fruits of the Spirit. And so without you guys, I wouldn't even, there's no way I would have made it through this, because I've had to, like I said, trying to battle sin and stuff, and having people who don't believe what I believe around me. I really feel like the body of Christ has kept me going. It's just day by day, I feel like there's been somebody else going through the same thing as me, and I'm not alone, so to speak. So I just want to thank you all for making your videos, even if, even if y'all didn't have a dream or not, you're still a part of the whole thing, because, just seeing your face makes me feel like I'm not alone, sorry, I know my face isn't on here. But anyways, so I just want to say thank you all for making your videos, and thank you for trying to bring more people to the kingdom. And right now, I think that's just kind of what God wants, is just us to, comfort one another. And, it's coming soon. And I mean, obviously we don't want, some of us, want this right now, but at the same time, we don't want the tribulation for other people. So it's kind of like a mix between, do I want this to hurry up and get here, or do I want to put this off any longer because there's people who aren't ready? And so it's been really, really hard mentally. And I think, I'm sure you guys are going through that too. And it's just on a daily basis, we're praying and interceding for our loved ones. And so keep on doing that. And just a lot of people are doing online stuff. But if you're, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere. But if you're in an area where you have more people, try to go out to the streets and hand out pamphlets. Every church usually has, like, if you look down the hallways of most churches, they have little pamphlets, and you can pick up those for free and just pass them out to people. And, instead of having to spend your own money or whatever, but that's one way to help spread the gospel. And other than that, I do want to talk a little bit about, because if any of you guys are not awake, or maybe you're new to faith, or I don't really know, just waking up to what's going on in the world, I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that we're not alone here. The Bible talks about the fallen angels and the Nephilim, and I just want to bring awareness to the fact that they are here, and that a lot of the problems that we're having in this world, like, for example, these wars and just a lot of the lies and the conspiracies. I'm not saying every conspiracy out there is true, but if you really go down the rabbit hole, it'll lead you to the fallen angels and the Nephilim and the secret societies. And I suggest you do some research on that. Don't stay in there, because, the goal is to get back to Jesus. We don't want to focus on the world and the world's problems, because God's going to take care of them and all the things that they're doing. And it's, we do want to wake people up, and continue to wake people up, but we don't want to make that our main focus. Our main focus is to bring people to Christ and to deal with sin. And because, if we're focused on somebody else's sin and neglecting our own sin, that's not going to help us in any way. And again, when it comes down to, again, gossip, I want to bring up gossip, because it's just something that God's been working on with me. Like, anytime I try to share something about them, or the things that I feel like they're doing, I try not to mention names, and I try not to share videos that somebody is just slandering, because you have to remember, if you don't have all the details, you're being a false witness. If you don't really, it's there will always be somebody exposing them. And so we don't need to, drag anybody's name through the mud. And if anything, we want to pray for these people, and, because their time is short, and I pray that they do come to the Lord. And anyways, and so it says to bless your enemies, and don't curse them, and all of that. And so our enemy, we are surrounded by our enemies, and it's going to get to a very dark place where they're going to kill Christians and anybody who doesn't take the mark, and they're going to lock them up in, these concentration camps that are all around the world. There's over 800 in the United States, and every single one of them has a guillotine in them. And that mark that goes in your hand is going to be like your debit card, and it'll track you, and they could probably kill you with it if they wanted to. And then, the one in the brain, I don't know that it's Neuralink, but maybe something similar. Could be a tattoo on your skin too, but that is basically going to be mind control. They have been mind controlling celebrities and different people in their group for many, many years. It's been going on for a long, long time. And these camps are also re-education camps. And they're going to re-educate people to the New World Order rules. And they have everybody, listed out. I don't know if they're still using the red dot, blue dot, yellow dot, but red means you're either a patriot or a very strong Christian, and they're just going to eliminate you. They're not going to even give you a chance to be re-educated. Blue would be you're a good candidate for re-education, and yellow means you're good, like you'll just go along with whatever. And I haven't really seen any markings. However, I do have a mentally ill sister who's in the system here, and I didn't, when I had first heard about the red dot, blue dot, I really hadn't seen anything or heard anything more about it until, I don't know if it was in her paperwork or something, but I seen in her because she takes meds and stuff like that, and she is case manager and all this stuff, and I seen somewhere in her paperwork that she was a blue dot, and so I was like, maybe they do have us all on lists. I really don't know, but anyways, it don't matter. In the end, you're either going to, if you're still here after the rapture, you'll either have to die for Jesus. I mean, he'll provide for us, because there's some things we'll have to do, before we are captured. Our goal is to bring more people to Jesus, obviously, during that time. So many of us will go into hiding, and the church will probably go into hiding. There's people who are prophesying that there will be drones that will be able to find Christians, all like thousands of drones, and these drones will be able to tell them if somebody has the mark or not. And so they're saying that Christians will have to go underground and that they won't be able to detect them underground. And but anyways, I know that God has certain areas and communities where people will be able to go for safety. But really, this whole, like the mark in the forehead is about mind control. And once you take the mark in your hand or your forehead, you are now becoming, it's iron mixed with clay. You're mixing technology with the human body. So it's like you're no longer going to be considered pure human. And that's kind of what happened during the days of Noah, where there was no pure humans. And so he had to put a stop to it, because Noah and his family, they may have been righteous, but also I have a feeling that they were the clean people of the bunch, So anyways, that's something to consider, and that's the reason why it's so important not to, because you're basically, when you take the mark, you're deciding, that you're siding with Satan, and because Satan and the fallen angels, their group is here, and they are the ones running this world. I mean, yes, God has a control. They are not. They're on a leash. We'll put it that way. But God's about to give the world over to Satan for a short season, because many people have turned their backs on God. And so the whole purpose of that short season is really grace and mercy. He could have just, like the flood, destroyed everybody and said, okay, I'm done. But he decided to give us grace and mercy and say, okay, I'm going to hand you over to Satan so you can see what's really going on, and then you can make a choice. Everybody is going to have to make a choice one day or another, and you may have to walk away from family members. You may have to walk away from children, but stay encouraged, because, God is with us. And in the end, whatever we lose, we gain back. And so this world is falling away. And right now, the war is not here yet. But many people look around and they think, oh, everything's fine. Somebody in my family says, well, I just want to stay here. Everything's fine. And I don't want to go to another earth, or I don't want to go to heaven. And I'm like, sure. And it may look fine now, but, truth is all it takes is a few bombs and this place is destroyed. They're destroying the world. They really are, in so many ways. They're polluting our air, our food supply. They're polluting everything. Everything is polluted, and this world is not being done right. And it's just time to get out of here. It's just, this isn't working anymore. It's like they make you think that you're free, but you're really not free. There's so many rules to the point where you can't even collect rainwater without it being considered like you stealing the groundwater of that state or whatever, And I'm just using that as an example, but so changing the subject though, if you are, even if you're in a small apartment, I suggest getting some pots and some seeds and some dirt, and those little mini hydroponic systems online are about $30, and they're really great for starting sprouts indoors. And then you're not dealing with the bugs indoors, because if you start sprouts indoors with soil, basically you end up with a bunch of gnats or whatever. And so I recommend getting the little hydroponic system to start the sprouts indoors, and then pot them in pots, and then start wherever you can, and if you have the space and the money, get some chickens. If you're in an area where like the desert, like I am, maybe get some traps, and if in a food crisis, you can catch some quail, rabbits, whatever you have to do to that you could populate. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but, and then also, build yourself a little community of people, around you, or maybe or plan, get a bug out bag, or have some stuff ready, fill your gas tanks, because, gas is obviously going up. And if the rapture does happen, there will probably be a 20-day lockdown. So, and if you're not going to, you need to have at least a 20-day supply of stuff on hand, and obviously we know you can only live 3 days without water. So, get yourself some water, refill the jugs that you're getting, if you're buying soda, refill those with water. Another thing that's really good online is, like, I think it's around $20-$25. They have all different kinds of stuff on Temu now, but there's this thing called a water bob. And, so if the power goes out for 24 hours, you can put that thing in a bathtub and fill it up, and it keeps the water sanitary, and you can fill up about 100 gallons of water. And so I recommend, because I believe that we'll probably get hit with an EMP or have some cyber attack, or who knows. That's one of the 3 ways they control you, is through your food, water, and electricity. And so, and many people will fall for, I'm going to go to them for aid. Well, unfortunately, what you're not understanding is that's where the enemy is, and that's where the market, that's the trap. They're leading the sheep to the slaughter. They're going to cause the problem with the bombs, and they're going to create the refugees, and the people are going to flee to these camps for help, and not realize that they just trapped themselves. So I'm just warning you now, don't fall for that. You're going to have to trust in God, and he's going to take care of us in the wilderness. If you go to them, you're following man, and you're going to end up trapped. You're going to end up, that's all I want to say. Try to, even if I know many of you think that you're going to be raptured, we don't know who's going to be raptured and who's not. And so we don't know who's going to be left here. So we all need to, us as the body of Christ, need to care about, even if, like me and my husband both get raptured, somebody is going to need the supplies. Somebody will. And so, I wouldn't just, and many people say, well, I'm just going to trust in God. I'm just going to trust in God. But you don't want to be like that man on the boat who God sent him, or the man that was drowning, and God sent him 3 boats, and he says, no, I'm just going to wait for God to save me. No, I'm just going to wait for God to save me. And then when he dies or drowns and gets to heaven, and he says, why didn't you save me? And God says, I sent you 3 boats. You know what I mean? Like, God's been warning people for quite some time to stock up on food and water and supplies and get things that you need. I don't think, these food and supplies and all of that are going to last us forever, but, it'll get us through till we get to where we're going, or, also another thing is to continue to build and practice faith. I know that some people are saying that during the 3 days of darkness that we will be given spiritual gifts, like of healing and just different things. And so be looking for that. I mean, it could come, we could be getting them now. So put into practice some of these things. Like through our church, through the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they do, because I believe in the Friday, Saturday, Sabbath. They do medical missionary training, and you could probably find those classes in your area, but medical missionary training is super, super important. Like two of the main things that I learned is about activated charcoal. Is great for wounds. It's something that you could drink. Do some research on activated charcoal. It's like a really great thing. And also we know that oil and oregano is a great, I believe, antibiotic. And then also if you get a 90 heat units on cayenne pepper, if somebody's having a heart attack, a heat stroke, or anything like that, you can put that like a small spoonful in somebody's mouth, and it will like immediately bring blood flow to the arteries to their heart to get it pumping again, and it can save a life. So I think medical missionary and learning things about plants and herbs is super important. God, I think that God is bringing us back to the ways of our ancestors. I mean, if we do get hit with an EMP, it'll bring us back to the 1800s. And so learn how to store meat. For example, if you take meat and just cover it in salt and then put some lard on top in a jar, you don't necessarily even need the lard. You can do all salt, or you can don't even need the salt, and you can just do the lard. Those two items are something that they've used since the end of time to store and keep meat fresh or whatever. And there's some items that people are not even aware that you don't even need to refrigerate, like eggs. If you were going to collect quail eggs or, whatever. But these are the things that we need to learn. Get yourself a little plant book for, your native plants to where you live, because you may have to survive on plants, But these are all helpful tools, and we all have access to Google. So spend some time, a little bit of time, maybe just save a few photos on your phone, of some things, that information or tips, like, do you know how to filter water? Like it's larger rocks, smaller rocks, and then you got sand, and then you can put charcoal in there, and then you put the cheesecloth on the bottom. But these are all tips that we're all going to need to know. And then know how far down your water table is where you live. I mean, I know where I live, it's really far down there, but if you have a 35 feet down, you can get a little water. If you have the funds on eBay, you can get a little water well that you can dig, literally put in yourself, and be able to have some water on your property. Collecting rainwater, obviously, some of the ones on Temu that are like the vinyl ones, they're not really any good. I tried buying one of those, and it just, with the wind, it just blew over, and didn't collect any rainwater because obviously it wouldn't stay up. And so I recommend just a regular trash can. Honestly, is really the cheapest way to go, and then puts like a screen or something, and a couple holes on top in the lid. But instead of spending a bunch of money, if you have the money to buy a rain barrel, buy one. But these are things that we need to think about, because, our water could be contaminated. And, it says that in the Bible. And also protecting your things from an EMP. You can get yourself a metal trash can. They're like $25. They sell them at Walmart, Amazon. You can buy them wherever. Home Depot, and a metal trash can with a lid, and line it with cardboard, and put some solar panels, a power station, some cooking equipment, whatever you think you're going to need. And if you want a cell phone in there, whatever. I don't know that cell phones, like, you'll actually have cell phone service, but you could put a radio in there, a clock, whatever you think, a fan. Power stations are super cheap on Temu. You want to get one with a solar panel. But they're selling a really good 1,000-watt one. I think it was an EBL for $350. Comes with the solar panel and everything, with the power station, and that's a really good price. I think I paid almost $1,000 for mine. That was 1,000 watts a few months ago. So they've really come down in price. So I bought my 1,000-watt EBL power station and solar panel for almost $1,000. I think it was $900 for the two. And like I said, right now they're selling it all, the whole thing, for like $350. So And then also, if you're on a really low budget, they sell a little fan on Temu that has a little solar panel, and that fan is a really great, and it has a light, and it has a thing to charge your phone, and then it has the fan, it has a little solar panel, and so I think that's a really helpful item. They also sell these wagon jump starters or whatever for your car. Those have ways to charge certain things on there, and they're maybe $75 or whatever, and they have an air compressor, and that you can jump a car and plug in a few items, and they usually have a light. So those are good too, but think about things like that you might need. And obviously Bibles, I think at some point when it really starts to go down, they're going to confiscate Bibles, but maybe get yourself some small, ones that you can still be able to read, but even just a little pamphlets that you could, doesn't have to be a Bible. Maybe you just want small little pamphlets that you're going to carry around with you or whatever, like reminders of like Psalms, for example. But anyways, these are just things that we need to think about. And, we only have so much time left. I mean, we don't know if we're leaving tomorrow or the next day, but anything that we can do, I mean, like I said, planting seeds, start planting some seeds, and get yourself some wild bird food, like from Dollar Tree or whatever. They sell wild bird food. I bought myself a bag of chicken. I didn't ever get my chickens, but I still have a bag of chicken food, and so that's something that can feed the quail, if I did have to catch quail. But anyways, get yourself a cage, to be able to keep some, it could be like a little kennel, anything to keep animals in. But anyways, I just wanted to encourage you all. I don't know how much more time we have, and just wanted to give you guys some advice. And like I said, I didn't really know what I was going to talk about, but these are the things that are on my mind. And so anyways, I don't want to make this any longer, so I love you all, and if I get any more confirmations or dreams, I will share them with you, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.